السلام عليكم. Welcome back to another episode of Quran Weekly, where we read the Quran in Arabic but discuss it in English. My name is Ahmed, and on the call I have with me Captain Imad. Say hi, Captain Imad.
Hi, everybody. It's nice to be with you guys.
And for everyone on YouTube, this is probably just the same regular scheduled every Friday, but it's been a couple of weeks since we sat down and did this, so I'm kind of really looking forward to today's session. But before we get into it, I would like to say that we are not scholars of the Arabic language, nor are scholars of the Quran. We are merely undergoing a journey to understand the Quran and see what we can understand from it. We're not telling you how you should understand it, you should believe it, but we're just learning on our own. And we're hoping that you join us along this journey. And if you have a different perspective over something that we say, then by all means, please share it. The more that you comment, the more that you share, the more that this channel can learn and grow, and we can learn from you as much as you can learn from us. With that being said, let's not waste any more time. Let's always begin with أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم, which means I seek refuge from God from the devil, and in the name of God who's most merciful and whose mercy is most encompassing. And over to you, Captain Ahmad.
Okay, last time we finished verse 46. Now we're starting from 47 from Surah Al-A'raf. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وإذا صرفت أبصارهم تلقاء أصحاب النار قالوا ربنا لا تجعلنا مع القوم الظالمين. صرفت أبصارهم يعني أصحاب الأعراف هذولا وجهوا نظرهم. They directed their vision to those who are in hell, being tortured in hell. When their eyes, when the believers' eyes are directed to those who are in hell, they realize how bad they are suffering, these guys, and then they said, قالوا ربنا لا تجعلنا مع القوم الظالمين. God, don't make us be with those unjustful people.
Those are the wrongdoers.
Makes sense?
Makes complete sense. So they looked at the residents of hell and they prayed out loud, do not let us be a part of the people that are doing wrong, the wrongdoers.
Next. ونادى أصحاب الأعراف رجالا يعرفونهم بسيماهم قالوا ما أغنى عنكم جمعكم وما كنتم تستكبرون. تفسير الآية هاي أصحاب الأعراف اللي احنا حكينا عنهم هذول المنطقة العالية، الأعراف في المنطقة العالية.
The translation of this statement is that the Araf is known as the heights, the areas that are elevated and that are quite high.
So نادى أصحاب الأعراف رجالا يعرفونهم بسيماهم. They know them by their looks, the way they look.
Yeah, it says there's a mark.
It's like
by their appearance.
Yeah, as if there is a signal on their faces that when you see them immediately you see, yeah, those are people of hell.
Yeah.
I don't know what that sign is, but that's what the text hence it means.
But so who recognized who? Those who are on the heights recognize the men by their marks?
Those on the heights, they recognize people from their faces that they are people of hell.
So the people
they know them by a signal.
I had this question the last time that we were reading. The people of the heights are they residents? They're not residents of hell. They're residents that are looking into hell.
Yes.
Okay.
They are believers. Those are the ones who believed in God, and they are in heaven. They are in paradise.
Yeah. Okay.
And when they look at those who are in hell, they pray to God or say to God, they talk to the people of hell. You have been collecting so much money and wealth and power and I don't know what good did that do to you?
So all the things that you used to collect has not availed you, has not given you so I see true translations.
What you collected.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It makes more sense than the English translation I see before me. Your large numbers and arrogance are of no use today. But I like what you're saying what has availed you from your gathering, what you have gathered in your life. Like I agree with you rather than the English translation I see before me. ما أغنى عنكم. أغنى means has made you rich, kind of, but it's made of no use to you what you have gathered and what you used to be arrogant about. Yeah, very clear. Yeah, here.
Okay. Next. هؤلاء الذين أقسمتم لا ينالهم الله برحمته ادخلوا الجنة لا خوف عليكم ولا أنتم تحزنون. Now those who are in hell, when they see the people, the believers in paradise, I don't know who's asking here. This is a question being asked. Are those you guys, you rich people, you were rich in this world and in dunya, you have swore to God that He's not going to be merciful on them. There is no heaven, there is no hell, there is no. Once you die, you go, everything is finished. Are these the ones you swear that they are not going to be covered by His mercy, by God's mercy? And then He says to the people of heaven, ادخلوا الجنة لا خوف عليكم ولا أنتم تحزنون. Go into the paradise. There is no fear, there is no sadness from now on for you guys.
Yeah. So let me try and. So the first part is a question. هؤلاء الذين أقسمتم لا ينالهم الله برحمة. What is هؤلاء الذين أقسمتم برحمة?
Are these, the question I think it's directed to people in hell and asking them, are these people, the believers, you have sworn that God will never be merciful on? Those are the ones that are going to go to paradise. لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون.
It's confusing me because I'm trying to understand what the question is. هؤلاء الذين أقسمتم, are these the ones that you had sworn God will not grant them mercy? Who is swearing that God won't grant them mercy?
The non-believers, because the non-believers said they believed in dunya, in our life now. They swear that there is going to be no heaven and hell, there is no doomsday, there is no God, there is no nothing.
But the expression is so weird. If the non-believers don't believe in God, why would they swear that God will not grant them mercy?
Because when they are in this life, they don't believe in the afterlife, they don't believe in doomsday, they don't believe in God. They always swear there is guys, don't be stupid. There is going to be no heaven and hell. There is going to be no doomsday. There is no God to start with. They are swearing.
I understand there is no God. I don't understand that they swear that God will not grant them mercy, because then they have to believe that God exists in order for them to swear that they don't have mercy. You know what I mean?
The way I read the verse, the way I understand it is that non-believers, atheists, swear that there is no God, and if there was one, He's not going to be merciful on you. Once you die, once you are buried, nothing. That's the end. Nothing happens afterwards.
Okay. And then you continue saying, no.
That's how I understand it.
Yeah, instead, those people that you said weren't going to receive God's mercy will enter paradise. There's no fear upon them, nor will they be sad or grieve. Clear.
That's how I understand the verse.
Next.
ونادى أصحاب النار أصحاب الجنة. People of hell call people of paradise. What did they say? أن أفيضوا علينا من الماء. Give us some water. أو مما رزقكم الله. Or anything that God has given you. Then the people of heaven would say, إن الله حرمهما على الكافرين. God has forbidden any mercy to go on the non-believers.
Which feels very cruel. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't feel.
That's the doomsday. That's the doomsday. It's a just result for such a crime they have committed.
I hear you, but I also
so many crimes.
Like there's a lot of non-believers that I don't feel are like. There's a lot of non-believers that wish they were believers. You know what I mean? Because I've met a lot of people that have disbelief in their heart, but they're trying to search the answer. They're trying to find the truth, and they just haven't found it yet. It's weird to me that I know that obviously those situations are different, because this is talking about the people that die as disbelievers, and those people are still alive and they have a chance of finding God's grace. But it's hard for me to imagine eternal punishment for disbelievers. You know, my heart wants to be more
Those you have mentioned.
merciful.
Okay, I see the point you're arguing. Those who are non-believers, but they are still seeking the truth, are not considered to be enemies of God, because they still haven't found the faith that they will feel is right, is correct, is righteous. So I don't think it applies to those people. It applies to people who knew or thought they knew, and they swear that there is no God, there is no doomsday, there is no heaven and hell, there is nothing after death. This is what the verse, the way I understand, he's directing his speech or argument to those who were so adamant that there is no God, no doomsday, no nothing.
Okay, so
But those,
specifically,
the ones you talk about,
yeah.
so the ones you mentioned are not gonna be among those
Okay.
where this verse is talking about,
Yeah.
because they haven't found the right path yet. They haven't been completely comfortable with their faith, or
Yeah.
knowing that there is God, or there is no God, or there's so many gods, or any kind of faith. They are indecisive.
Okay.
I don't think they will be punished like those who adamantly rejected the fact that there is a God, there is doomsday and all that.
Yeah, I just mean that the verse that we just read says, "Indeed, God has forbidden it for the disbelievers," and it's, yeah. For me, I just wonder what that means to be a disbeliever. I know there's been a lot of mentions of kafirin throughout the Quran so far with the disbelievers, but yeah, clear.
Okay, next.
Yeah.
Now this next verse explains who are those
Disbelievers.
that particularly are addressed as believers, not disbelievers.
Sure.
The verse says اللي هم they are الذين اتخذوا دينهم لهوا ولعبا, those who thought that religion was a game and fun, وغرتهم الحياة الدنيا. Our life here deceived them, made them believe that this is it, this is what we have, there is nothing after life.
Yeah.
فاليوم ننساهم, today we will forget about them, we'll put them in hell and forget about them. كما نسوا لقاء يوم هذا, like they have forgotten that there is a judgment day, and they forgot all about it. And that, and هذا وما كانوا بآياتنا يجحدون, plus the fact that they were denying our verses, our miracles, be it in the universe, or be it the verses of Quran, or even Torah and Bible.
Okay, so here it's specifying that the kafirun are the ones that they took the religion as only play and amusement, and they were deluded by life, and they'll be forgotten as they forgot the meaning of the day, and they used to, with our verses, reject our verses, our revelations. So it's not just those that aren't sure and disbelieve, the ones that like actively reject the verses of God and actively reject what.
So this verse explains the one before it.
Yeah.
Next. ولقد جئناهم بكتاب فصلناه على علم هدى ورحمة لقوم يؤمنون. We have given them, I think the tafsir that I'm reading now is specifying أهل مكة, people of Mecca. ولقد جئناهم بكتاب, الكتاب هو القرآن.
It's not just الكتاب has been Al-Quran, and sometimes it refers to the Torah and sometimes the Injil.
Absolutely, but I'm talking about the tafsir book I'm reading from now.
Yeah, so the tafsir, sure.
But you are right. God has mentioned the Torah as kitab, the Bible as kitab, Zabur as kitab, Quran as kitab.
I think it's a continuation of the previous verses, talking about the disbelievers who denied the verses of God, And so here it's saying, and they denied the verses of God, even though we had brought the book, and we have explained to them with knowledge and guidance and mercy for a people who believe. So this is kind of like clarifying that it's not the people, the disbelievers who never received a book or never received a guidance, but specifically those that have received the guidance.
That's how I understand it.
Yeah.
Next. هل ينظرون إلا تأويله. This is a very difficult verse, by the way. هل ينظرون إلا تأويله يوم يأتي تأويله يقول الذين نسوه من قبل قد جاءت رسل ربنا بالحق فهل لنا من شفعاء فيشفعوا لنا أو نرد فنعمل غير الذي كنا نعمل قد خسروا أنفسهم وضل عنهم ما كانوا يفترون. Now the word تأويله is what's in the word كلمة تأويل. There are two words very relevant in understanding the Quran: تفسير and تأويل. Those are two different things. Tafsir is what you and I are doing now. We are trying to explain and translate the meaning of the verse up to our best of ability and knowledge. تأويل is something else. تأويل أهل الأمر إلى الشيء its end destination. Literally, this is what it means.
The fulfillment.
The Quran has its end, the fulfillment. The end destination of the Quran will be revealed to us, to everybody, at the doomsday, when the day comes. And it says, the verse... Yeah, go ahead.
I do think it is... I do think it does talk about the end of days, but I feel like the fulfillment of the Quran will also be done throughout our lifetimes, because in the end of the day, the Quran is also a prophecy, and there are things, for example, what's going to happen to Israel, and that's in Surah Al-Isra. There are mentions of things, of worldly events that are going to happen. So I wonder if, I just curious if this is only referring to Judgment Day, or, well, it continues it. Are they waiting for its fulfillment? The day that will come that its fulfillment. And they will say, those who had forgotten about it from before, that verily it has come the messengers of our Lord with truth. So there are for us, هل لنا من شفعاء, are there any intercessors for us, so that they intercede for us, or we are sent back so that we do the deeds that which we were used to do. So we do something other than what we used to do. It does reference Judgment Day, I guess, because then it says, verily they lost themselves and they strayed away from them what they used to invent. So it does say that.
Exactly. That's why I believe. Yeah. I believe it's all about doomsday.
Possibly, yeah.
Okay. Next. إن ربكم الله الذي خلق السماوات والأرض في 6 أيام ثم استوى على العرش يغشي الليل النهار يطلبه حثيثا والشمس والقمر والنجوم مسخرات بأمره ألا له الخلق والأمر تبارك الله رب العالمين. Let me explain first in Arabic, and then we go into the English translation, okay?
Sure.
ربكم الذي خلق السماوات والأرض في 6 أيام. He created heaven and earth in 6 days. Now, atheists and non-believers will ask us, they did ask me actually personally, how did God measure 6 days before creating earth and the sun and earth rotating around itself to measure a day? What is a day? It's a period of time between sunrise and sunset. What is a night? It's a time between sunset and sunrise. How did God decide it was 6 days before he even created heaven and earth and the sun?
So here's the thing.
Which seems, sorry.
Yeah?
Go ahead.
Here's the thing. In the end of the day, a day is a measure of time. And even if the sun and moon weren't there, we use the sun and moon to measure time. But God doesn't need to use these earthly tools to kind of measure time. God knows how much a day is worth. So if you put
what you're saying is logical.
Yeah.
What
So
you're saying is logical. It's logical. However, the answer I gave them to their question is the fact that God has mentioned إن يوما عند ربك كان مقداره 50,000 سنة مما تعدون. The
yeah,
day of God is equivalent to 50,000 years of your days.
yeah, that's also possible.
So
So
it doesn't necessarily mean
yeah,
6 days of Earth days, because Mars has a different day. Jupiter has a different day.
yeah.
Every planet has a different day.
So
But the way, go ahead.
the translation here shows two different words. In the English translation below, it says, "Indeed, your Lord has created the heavens and the earth in 6 days." But in the translation for word, it translated it to epoch. An epoch is, let me get the definition, a particular period of time in history or a person's life. So an epoch is in the way that you're describing it. It might not be an Earth day. It might be a day in the frame of reference of our God, which is like 50,000 Earth days, for example. So here they've translated it as epoch to be like any period of time, not necessarily a day that we understand it. That being said, I can also understand it as a day in our time, just before the sun and the moon were in play. But either way, God created the heavens and the earth in a period of time, let's just say.
Okay, the argument about 6 days is resolved, in my opinion, because it talks about God's day is different than our day on Earth.
It's very possible. And for everyone watching, the thing that my dad, or the thing that I was, the thing that was mentioned, the fact that there's a day is worth 50,000 is another reference in the Quran. It comes in another section in the Quran.
Yeah, a day of God is equivalent to 50,000 years of your time, humans on Earth.
Yeah, so there's another verse in the Quran somewhere else. We haven't gone there, but we will get there. And then what happens?
Next, he says ثم استوى على العرش. Now again, this is a sentence that has created a lot of argument among Muslim scholars in the old days. استوى means he sat down firmly. على العرش, على throne, on the throne. And that picture hints that God has a body, physical body, or some dimensions.
Yeah.
And this contradicts logic.
Our understanding of
why? Because God is, anything that crosses your mind about God is different. كل ما خطر ببالك فالله غير ذلك. Everything that crosses your mind about God is not that.
Is that in the Quran? Everything that you think about God is not that?
No. This is a logical
conclusion. Sure.
Islamic understanding, because there are verses in the Quran that says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ليس كمثله شيء. Nothing is like God.
Yeah.
So the fact that what we understand on the surface level of this verse is that God has sat on the throne, but that's not what it's meant. Here we come to ta'wil. And الاستواء جلوس الله على العرش مش physical. It's not a physical sitting down, God sitting down on the throne. It's the power, it's the ability, it's his might. It's not the physical image we immediately comes to our mind.
So we can say it's a metaphor for he, because istawa also has been translated into he ascended, which is a bit interesting. As in طلع لفوق. He went up.
استوى, the word استوى has so many meanings. One of them استوى معناها when you're cooking meal or food, you wait until it ripens, it completely becomes eatable.
Yeah.
It can mean he has astride on the horse. استوى على الحصان.
Okay.
He has ridden the horse and he has full power over it.
Sure.
It has so many meanings, but here the picture we're trying to explain is that it's not a physical thing.
Sure.
That's the important. That's the takeaway from this verse.
Yeah. He established himself on the throne.
And then he continues. يغشي الليل النهار. night will take
Will
the light
cover
of the day.
night will cover the day.
يطلبه حثيثا. Will cover the day. يطلبه حثيثا. It's like they are in a race. Day and night are in a race together. And والشمس والقمر والنجوم مسخرة بأمره. The sun, the moon, the stars are all devoted by his order.
Yeah.
ألا له الخلق والأمر تبارك الله رب العالمين. It's for God. It's God's creation. It's God's creation. God's. Go ahead.
It says ألا له الخلق والأمر, which means, is it not for him all of creation and under his command? Blessed is God, the Lord of the worlds.
ألا له is تأكيد. Confirmation.
Is it for me?
It's a confirmation.
It sounds like a rhetorical question. ألا له? Is it not for him? Is it not for him?
The way I read it is, I don't see it that way. I see it a confirmation, and everything you consider about God, it's his. It's definitely creation and order is God's.
Sure.
Period. حصريا. Exclusively for God.
Okay. Unquestionably for him.
Praise be God, رب العالمين.
And command. Praise be God, Lord of the world. Yeah. It also just brings to mind, as you're describing whether God is physical or not, or something that we can imagine or not, I find that, for instance, answering the question of, do I love God? And for me as a human, my specific way of thinking is that I need to be able to understand something to love them. And I find that I struggle to understand or have a fixed image of what God is in my head. I know that everything that I have in my life, I'm grateful to God for, and I'm so lucky and so blessed and so happy, and for that I do love God.
Alhamdulillah.
But like, to think of an overall comprehensive entity that God is, and it's just, it doesn't fit in my head. It's beyond me to kind of imagine what God is, you know? And that's what I kind of struggle with, the concept of loving God. Even though I do love God and I'm very grateful for him, it's just hard for me to understand it. And because it's hard to understand it, it's hard to experience the full feeling of love, you know?
It's interesting what you just mentioned, Ahmad. However, our understanding and faith improves every day as we read the Quran and I try to understand everything there. And it can deteriorate if we stay away from Quran, stay away from religion. So every day we are progressing in our love, in our understanding, in our worship to God. The more we read the Quran, the more we understand it, the more we apply his rules and avoid his the things he forbid us from doing. We are in constant promotion.
Yeah.
And it depends on our level, our effort, how sincere are we in seeking the truth, understanding the Quran even better.
Yeah.
So the more you know about God, the more you will love him. The more you will realize how great he is, how merciful, how loving to us, to creation.
I do understand a lot of those things, but it's just I don't have a full idea of God. But you're right. The more that we read, the closer that we will get to God. So that's why we're here. Okay.
Next.
Yep.
ادعوا ربكم تضرعا وخفية إنه لا يحب المعتدين. What does that mean? خفية معناها سرا, secretly. Call God, pray for God secretly.
And humbly.
تضرعا,
humbly.
Being humble, asking God, being humble, and secretly. إنه لا يحب المعتدين. Allah لا يحب. God doesn't like those who are the aggressors.
Yeah. So
he doesn't like people.
Here's a question then. It kind of feels like on one hand you have two clauses. You have pray to God humbly and privately, because God does not love transgressors. So it feels like transgressors are people who don't do it humbly and don't do it privately. Or am I misunderstanding this?
For instance, there is a verse in the Quran that says, وَلَا تَجْهَرْ بِصَلَاتِكَ وَلَا تُخَافِتْ بِهَا وَابْتَغِ بَيْنَ ذَلِكَ عَوَانًا. which means don't be so loud with your prayer and don't be so silent, but choose a way that hardly you can hear yourself praying. Now,
Okay.
what happens in the Islamic world is that mosques, they announce the prayer 5 times in loudspeakers, especially Al-Jum'ah prayer. They have the speakers at full blown. And this, in my opinion, I could be wrong. This is a contradiction of God's will, because God always wants us to be,
Well,
to keep our relationship with Him, praying for Him, kind of personal.
I
But then again, I could be wrong. I
I
don't know.
I agree, but I believe that like the call to prayer was from the time of the prophet, right? And
Yes.
I feel like that is something that would have been clarified to the prophet if he was doing it wrong. I think there's power in unity, and this is kind of where I'm trying to figure out where the line lies. Because like the call to prayer being very loud, I think makes sense to me because the call to prayer is not prayer. But then when you're in the mosque, someone does pray in a loud voice, loud enough for everybody to hear them. So I don't know where that falls within the line of does this make sense? Is this right? Is this wrong? But in general, the advice is, and you also see this in Christianity, that God is asking you to call upon Him humbly and privately, because He doesn't like the transgressors. So, yeah, keep your prayers as personal and as private as possible. I think is the clear message here. Next.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. That makes sense. ولا تفسدوا في الأرض بعد إصلاحها وادعوه خوفا وطمعا إن رحمة الله قريب من المحسنين. ولا تفسدوا في الأرض. Don't do bad things and on earth
Don't cause
by
corruption.
making a partner for God or committing sins.
Um,
ولا تفسدوا في الأرض بعد إصلاحها.
don't
Yeah.
spread corruption in the land after its reformation or it's being fixed, after things have been set in order.
How do you, what does corrupt in earth? What does تفسد الأرض corrupting in earth? What does corrupting mean? Corrupting it.
Well, corrupting can be in a variety of manners. It can be being unjust. It can be stealing. It could be lying. It could be denying rights. It could like there's many examples of what corruption is throughout the Quran. Like eating the money of
Which
the
is what you
yeah.
what you said is correct. It's about sins.
Sins,
But
but
there is something more dangerous than sins. Is making partner to God, shirk.
it's referenced
Some people believe in God.
many times, but here I don't think it's talking specifically about shirk, but it's talking about any type of corruption. Don't cause corruption in the land after its reformation, after it's been fixed and set in order. And I think this this also applies to, like, we see this time and time again with civilizations that rise and fall, and during their rise things are set in order, but then corruption comes and those civilizations fall after it.
That's a very nice remark, by the way. That's a very nice remark. Next.
Yeah, and then call Him in fear and in hope, خوفا وطمعا. Indeed, the mercy of God is near for those who are doing good, the ones who are doing the good doers. Yeah, which is something that I can appreciate hearing, because I could use with God's mercy as as of now. But
we all need God's mercy.
Yeah.
We all do.
Sure.
Next.
Next.
وهو الذي يرسل الرياح بشرا بين يدي رحمته حتى إذا أقلت سحابا ثقالا سقناه لبلد ميت فأنزلنا به الماء فأخرجنا به من كل الثمرات كذلك نخرج الموتى لعلكم تذكرون.
Okay.
God is the one who sends the winds. God is the one who sends the winds. بشرى شو البشرى
to send good news, to bring glad tidings.
Exactly, that this God's mercy is coming your way. حتى إذا أقلت سحابا ثقالا, until when the wind has carried heavy clouds And this is in 1400 years ago, more than 1400 years ago. Nobody knew that clouds are actually heavy.
Yeah.
Now science has proven that clouds full of water, they are actually very heavy.
Yeah.
حتى إذا قلت سحابا ثقالا سقناه لبلد ميت. We took this heavy clouds to a dead area, dead land. فأنزلنا به الماء. We have dropped water on it. فأخرجنا به من كل الثمرات. And we have brought from it so many fruits.
Yeah.
كذلك نخرج الموتى. That's how we bring up the dead. لعلكم تذكرون. Maybe you will remember. God has given us an example of a desert place, desert area, desert. When it rains on it, suddenly the grass will start coming up, trees has become coming up and everything. For God, bringing up the dead is no more difficult than bringing up the plants after it has died. That's the example God is giving us. كذلك نخرج الموتى لعلكم تذكرون.
So yeah, interesting to know. Heavy clouds, that's a revelation from 1,400 years ago and happens to be true now. And they drive them to a land to bring water down and bring out fruits, and that's how we bring out the dead, so that you may be mindful. Okay.
Because all atheists think once you're dead, nothing is going to happen afterward. Nobody's going. How can you come back from the dead? You know, this is the question they always ask. How can you come back from the dead?
Yeah.
But you see it every day. You see it every year. You see trees bare of their leaves in winter. It's cold, and then rain comes on, and then it goes back to life again. It's as simple as that for God. That's what the verse is telling us.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing.
Next. والبلد الطيب يخرج نباته بإذن ربه والذي خبث لا يخرج إلا نكدا كذلك نصرف الآيات لقوم يشكرون. What does that mean? البلد الطيب, a good country, good soil, good atmosphere, good everything, يخرج نباته حسنا بإذن ربه. It brings its vegetation. And this is an example, like when the believer hears موعظة شو الوعظ preaching. This is like when the believer listens to a preaching and he follows it. والذي خبث, the one that has terrible sand, terrible
soil, infertile land,
soil, it doesn't bring up its products except in agony. It's so difficult to have it come up. So God is giving us example between a good country, a good soil, responds to God's givings, and the bad one denies it, denounce it, and it doesn't provide the good products, like good agricultural products in that land.
I love the metaphor that you just used, that the land can be an example of the human, and that a good human with the blessings of God gets lots of fruits, and the bad human, it's very difficult to get fruits because he's it's just not fertile land. It's nice, interesting metaphor.
That's what the verse has explained to me. That's how I understand it.
Sure.
Next.
And that's how we explain the signs for people that are grateful. Clearly. Next.
تمام. لقد أرسلنا نوحا إلى قومه فقال يا قوم اعبدوا الله ما لكم من إله غيره إني أخاف عليكم عذاب يوم عظيم. We have sent
Noah.
Well, I think all monodeity, who's Noah?
Yeah.
Who's Noah? Noah of the ark.
Yep.
لقد أرسلنا نوحا إلى قومه, to his people, and he said, "O people, worship God. You don't have another God but Him. I fear on you a torture of a huge day, great day.
Yeah.
So Noah has asked his people to believe in God. And now what happens? Next verses will explain. Back to you.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So Noah has been sent to his people saying, you should worship only God, there's no other God, and I fear for you a torment that's of a day that's great. Next.
So what happened next? قال الملأ من قومه إنا لنراك في ضلال مبين. The majority of his people said, we see that you are totally misled, totally stray way away from the right path. What God and what heaven and hell? What are you talking about? You know, that none of this makes sense to us. That's the answer of his people when he called them to worship God.
Sure. Clear. Next.
قال يا قوم ليس بي ضلالة ولكني رسول من رب العالمين. I am not misled, guys. I am a messenger of God.
I find this beautiful, but yeah, clear.
Okay. أبلغكم رسالات ربي. My mission is to give you the messengers of God. وأنصح لكم. I'm giving you advice. وأعلم من الله ما لا تعلمون. And I know from God what you guys don't. Clear?
Clear. So I'm here to send a message from God, and I know from God what you do not know. Clear. Powerful.
Next.
Yeah.
أوعجبتم أن جاءكم ذكر من ربكم على رجل منكم لينذركم ولتتقوا ولعلكم ترحمون. Were you surprised that God has sent you his words from your God, and he sent it to a man amongst you, a man like you all? He didn't bring an angel down who was totally different than humans to deliver the message of God. He gave it to a man from you, like you, exactly. He was born like you are born. He lives like you. He's going to die like you die. He's exactly one of you, to warn you, to make you be careful and obedience to God. And لعلكم ترحمون, and maybe you'll get merciful. Was that surprise for you? Was it so difficult to understand?
Yeah, do you find it astonishing that a reminder should come to your Lord from one of your own, warning you so that you may be mindful and so that you may receive mercy? And what do they do to him?
What happened next? فكذبوه. They said he's a liar. They didn't believe him. فأنجيناه والذين معه في الفلك وأغرقنا الذين كذبوا بآياتنا إنهم كانوا قوما عمين. What happened is that his people, majority of his people, denied it, accused him of being a liar. They didn't believe that God can have sent him a message. So we have saved him and those who were with him in the ark. وأغرقنا الذين كذبوا بآياتنا, and we have drowned all those who denied our verses. إنهم كانوا قوما عمين. Those people were blind. They didn't see the truth.
Yeah. Which, again, as a person who has not seen the truth in my life, it's scary to think that God's punishment can take things away before we see the light, you know? Maybe time is always the kind of... Sometimes I feel like a person who died a disbeliever, given more time and more evidence, than they would believe. But maybe that's just my naivety. I don't think that's what God is saying. But...
the way I see it...
Yeah? No, go for it. The way you see it?
The way I see it, that evidence are clear to everybody. It's your decision to believe there is a creator, mastermind of this world, or deny the fact and say there is no God.
I know, but for like 15,
it's up to you.
15 years of my life, I wasn't convinced and I wasn't sharing the message. I had walked away from Islam for 15 years. And I do think that I only walked back through the grace of God and through my family. My family was constantly there and reminding me. I don't know if I would have found it without them, but I have met some friends of mine that found God without having their family. So I don't know. It's just, I wish to believe in the good in all humans. You know, I wish that everyone can believe and everyone can find the light. You know.
تمام.
But
Next.
this actually concludes the section. So this was very exciting, and we're gonna have to take a pause here and continue the following week. Thank you all for listening with us today. As usual, we always end with Sadaq Allah al-Ali al-Azim, which means trusted is the word of God, who is almighty and all grateful. Thank you, Captain Ahmad. We appreciate your wisdom and your reading of the Quran and your perspective. Thank you so much.
Thank you, buddy, and my greetings to your followers and people who are watching your channel. Have a good day, guys.
Cheers, everyone. Bye bye.